Hello. So, today, or at this precise moment, actually going to be going for lunch and shoe shopping. Not specifically in that order, probably in the reverse order, actually. Shoe shopping because there's a specific style of shoe I really like here. It's very cheap. It's reasonably, well, I just said cheap. But yeah, it's reasonably priced. I like them. I'm going to buy quite a few and send them back in a box to the U.S. So I have a supply after going home. And I know where they're sold. The trick for me has actually been finding them in the right size, because of course sizes aren't standard everywhere, which is a little weird. I like the sizes here in China, actually. They, generally speaking, just refer to shoe size by millimeter or centimeter. Like I wear a 250 or a 25, being either a 250 millimeter or a 25 centimeter. Is that right? Is that the right? Yeah, friggin' metric. So I thought I'd just do a update while I'm at it. First and foremost, you can see it in there. I am broke out all over. No idea why. I actually thought I had a staph infection at one point, but I didn't. Yeah, no idea why. I've almost given up on trying to figure out my health concerns in China and just accepting that I'm going to be sick the whole time I'm here. At least here, I don't like to badmouth what is effectively a host city for me, but if I teach in China again, it will not be in Chongqing. It will not be in a heavily industrialized area. Just because my health doesn't seem to agree with it. There we go. And I'm gonna, like I said, do a quick update. Friggin' battery's heavy. Yeah, okay, I got my keys. I have actually avoided locking myself out so far. Knock on wood. All right. So what has been up in classes? Well, I can go ahead and tell you that the classes this semester are, for whatever reason, maybe it's because I'm teaching second-year students and first-year students, maybe it's just, I don't know, generational or something. But the students have been considerably less enthusiastic. I've had real trouble getting them to participate in my lessons, and it's been kind of disheartening is probably not the correct word. A little frustrating though. Ow. See if there's anybody on my elevator. All right. So, like I said, a little frustrated with my classes. It is now the beginning of the 11th week of class. There's 17 weeks in my schedule. So I have right now 59 days of work remaining, 7 weeks. I don't want to say I'm counting down the days until I'm done with my contract, but I am. I like China. I like Chinese people a bunch. Like, I like the people here much better than the environment. But I'll be happy to head home. If my health were doing better, I'd probably stay longer, but it's just not. So I don't know. I might come back and teach in China again at some point. I'm going to be a bit pickier on, well, pickier is not the right term. A bit more specific in my location. Maybe someplace in Mongolia or Inner Mongolia or one of the less industrialized parts of the country. But anyways, there we go. We just had a music festival yesterday, which was very interesting. It was Chinese folk music. Well, actually, it was an artist who's pretty famous here, named Zhu Wei. I think I said his name right. Who does, it's kind of folk music, but it's kind of like folk music with a little tinge of modern production in it. It's very nice. I enjoyed it very much. The students worked very hard preparing for it, singing, practicing. 2 weeks, easy. I didn't realize it was wet today. Oh well. And I just got back from a Sino-German conference where all of the meetings were in Chinese and German, so I didn't understand anything. It was kind of unfortunate. I would have actually liked to, have participated more actively, but nope. That's okay though. So I have, kind of made some headway in parts of my educational and cultural studies here. Since I've been here, I've been playing music for my students, because I want to kind of find things that maybe they haven't heard to introduce them to, because they're very interested in music, and I keep telling my students, music, food, and literature, the hallmarks of human culture. I've had very mixed results, though. I've discovered that my students are not particularly fans of classic rock. Okay. Yeah, there we go. We're going to be going down Fubin yet again today, because it is my favorite place in the favorite road in the city. Plus, it leads to where we're going. Okay, visor down, which will probably affect the sound. But what are you going to do? Better than getting hit in the face by bugs. Speaking of getting hit. Yeah, that guy was nice enough to try to let me out, but no, not on this thing. I like this little e-bike. If it wouldn't cost me more than the e-bike is worth, I would actually ship it home. But it's not very strong. It's not very powerful. That's what I'm trying to say. and right now the chain is actually off because I slipped the chain and I'm not industrious enough to put it back on at the moment. So it's actually just an e-bike, not even a moped. Which is actually why I bought this bike, is because it's a moped and I wanted one I could pedal. I'll put the chain back on before I sell it though, which I need to start looking for somebody to buy it. 1 second, I gotta adjust my seat. I'm sure that nobody wants to know this, but for some reason the shape of this seat cuts off the circulation just right, and periodically my penis will fall asleep, and it's really uncomfortable, as you might imagine. I derailed myself with my own penis circulation comments. Right, so as you know, I try to find songs that, like, you know, I've found a few bands or artists that they enjoy that they weren't aware of. When you come here, you should just go ahead and know that, first of all, Linkin Park is hugely popular here. I like Linkin Park, so that's a plus for me. And Taylor Swift is pretty popular here. I'm continually amused that Meghan Trainor is really popular here. Like, you know, the slightly chunky, you know, blonde chick from America is popular here. I'm like, good for her. I'm actually pretty fond of Meghan Trainor too, for some reason. But, you know, as I try to find things they'll like, you know, Led Zeppelin they're not feeling, which makes me very sad. My English compatriot here, British compatriot here, Clive, is a huge Pink Floyd fan, which I am too. But they're not Floyd fans. Classic rock doesn't seem to be their thing. Interestingly enough, I have found one band that they were just absolutely crazy about when I introduced them. And you know, one of my favorite bands, but it's not one I thought they'd respond well to, but is the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I don't know why, but just responded really well to the Stadium Arcadium album. U2, they know and respond to pretty well, because they haven't heard a lot of their older stuff. Kind of punkish alternative bands like Linkin Park, they respond pretty well to. They've liked the Offspring when I played them. They've liked Green Day, they're pretty fond of. Some of them are aware of Green Day, but not as many as I would think, considering how popular Linkin Park is here. But so I made a little headway in music. Continuing with popular culture discussions, the Peanuts. I have discovered Chinese students really respond well to, and we're talking about university students here too. I'm sure kids would enjoy it also. But I use Peanuts in other English teaching as well. It's a really good resource because there's a Peanut episode for pretty much every holiday in America, and by inference the Western world, because the Peanuts, oddly enough, Schultz was kind of like slightly European in his work. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but the show itself is really slow. The pacing is very, very relaxed, and it's very easy for non-native English speakers to follow. And of course, the one thing I have always noticed, and I pretty much knew going in, is that they don't know what the Peanuts is. Like, they don't know that that's the name of the show. They don't know who Charlie Brown is, but they know who Snoopy is. They also don't know he's a beagle, which I've explained to them. So that's my pop culture discussion for my update. What I'm doing in class right now discussion is PPTs. Or PowerPoint presentations. It's very interesting that Chinese students here, they don't know what the abbreviates for a bunch of stuff mean, and they actually kind of assume in a lot of cases that the abbreviates are the names. Like, I'll say PowerPoint, and they just don't even know what I'm talking about. And then I'll say PPT, and they'll be like, "Oh, wait, is it an is it an abbreviation?" Yeah, it is. It's very interesting. I understand why. I'm certainly not making fun of them or poking fun of them or anything. It's very interesting that happens. So their first PPT was on a city. What I told them to do was pick a city, find out the problems that city has, and give me ways to fix it. I met with mixed results. Most of my students that show up actually did the presentation. I told them if you do it, even if you do it wrong, I'll give you a passing grade. Some of them didn't do cities, some of them did countries, some of them did countries, and I okayed that because, small countries are basically cities. I probably just offended people. A lot of them didn't do so well on they've complained a lot about research is one thing, that it's hard to research things using the Chinese internet. And I kind of sympathized with them in the first semester I was here, until I went and I did it myself, and I discovered that it's actually not that hard to research things in the Chinese internet. Using the internet here in China, I can find things fine. I can find U.S. news, I can find Chinese news, I can find pretty much anything I want. The trick, and I'm gonna teach them this in the upcoming week, is to do the search in English. Go to Yahoo. Bing sucks, which is odd because I think Bing actually uses the Yahoo framework. But Bing is not very good. Go to Yahoo. Just do an English search in Yahoo. You will turn up things. It's not a bad. It's not quite as good as Google. I'll go ahead and say that. But it's not hard to find information. And I don't want to say they're looking wrong, but for an English language PPT, they're doing it wrong. But that's not their fault. The reason I have them do PPTs, by the way, is because in their 4th year, they go to Germany. Mind you, none of my engineering students speak German. They're not even taking German classes. They're taking English classes. I am told that the classes they're going to be taking are in English. They're by German professors who are going to be speaking English. The problem with this is that accents are really, really rough for these students. So it's a little disingenuous for me to be teaching them English and then to send them to Germany and expect them to do well listening, with a German accented professor. And that's certainly not the professor's fault, of course. And I keep trying to explain to my students who get stuck on the concept of their accent that their accent is pretty unimportant. Most English speakers, just assume that everyone they speak to is going to have an accent. I certainly have an accent. My students think it's very funny that I purposely dumb down my normal accent and want me constantly to speak like I would in Kentucky, which sometimes I do, especially when I'm drunk. But yeah. Okay, 1 second. My turn off is pretty close to the shop I'm trying to go to. It's very nice out there here. I actually think John's house is not really that far from here either. The seafood restaurant here, by the way, is very nice. Also, I'll get to food later. I've had some adventures